Welcome to Per Her Perspective, a podcast of raw, relatable conversations on leadership, challenges, and solutions in running a business, often with the support of smart peers. The show inspires business owners to grow, make bold decisions, and go bigger with confidence. I'm your host, Marla Noel. Let's get started.
Is Teri Bassman, the Chief Culture Officer and co-owner of Bassman Blaine, a powerhouse in the home furnishings industry since 1984. Bassman Blaine's innovation, entrepreneurship, and a deeply hands-on approach has enabled them to become a leader in this industry for over 4 decades. Their business includes a premier West Coast wholesale sales agency, national and international sales management, consultancy, and showrooms. For over 2 decades, Bassman Blaine Home, their luxury interior design firm, has completed more than 1,200 projects across 21 states and over a dozen countries and continues to grow. Bassman Blaine has earned major recognitions, including being named Orange County's Best Place to Work for 2 years in a row, as well as Best Place to Work in the Furniture Industry, reflecting the thriving, people-centered culture. Welcome, Teri Bassman.
You, Marla. You. I've known Teri for a while. Teri is a member of my Women's Presidents Organization groups. We've known each other, I think, for 7 years or so. But some of these questions I have not asked Teri. I'm interested to learn about this today. Teri, early years, what was it that motivated you and your husband to start your business?
That is a great question. And I will say that it started with Kenny growing up in this industry. It's a very small, quirky industry, not too many manufacturers or vendors. And because his father was a salesperson in the industry, he introduced him to what this could be. And Kenny early on realized that he could make a nice living doing this. However, he just couldn't stop at just being a salesperson. He right away was very innovative and entrepreneurial. And so the business has evolved over 40 years, and it's been really an interesting journey and super fun and challenging at times, but are very growth oriented and continue to grow.
Good. Well, I know it's a great business and I've seen your offices. They're really incredible, beautiful space. And I can see the window behind you where you can see the freeway and cars going by. Tell me a little bit about what your childhood was like. What's the younger Teri look like?
Marla, I love this question because I feel like I won the lottery in my childhood. I came from a very loving family. I have 2 parents, my parents who have been married now for 68 years. We came from a very close extended family. I have an older brother, younger sister. One of the things, I came from a very corporate background. My dad worked for IBM in the days when it was Big Blue. And so we moved every year and a half, 2 years, and we became even closer because of that. And so a younger Teri was someone who had to kind of start up every couple years in a new school, in a new state, make new friends. And I had to learn very quickly to adapt and learn about people. Who did I feel comfortable with? Who were going to be my friends? Who were going to be my acquaintances? What sports was I going to play? And the biggest thing that always made me maybe a little anxious as a kid was if they had jump roping at recess, because I became like the grand champion of doing the figure eights in jump roping. And I remember running out there to see, okay, I hope there's a jump rope. I hope people love it. And I use sports as a way I loved playing sports, but really it was a great way to connect in as well.
I didn't realize we had that much in common because I grew up in a DuPont family and it was the same thing, move every 2, 3, 5 years.
Yeah.
And it's hard being the new kid in school. And it happened a lot. And I was a middle child also.
We have a lot in common.
And, I love to watch people and learn from people. I don't know whether, like you said, you think it's because you've lived in a variety of places. I really do think that when you have to adapt, you need to read people to know how to adapt. Not that I think I did that very well sometimes, but you have to, figure it out. And it sounds like moving around certainly can put a fire in your belly. But was there anything else that you think, wow, that's what got me going. That's what still gets me going. I don't know.
I think it is an inner desire to just do whatever I'm doing great. Like I don't want to just sit still. I don't want to be just average. And I think as even a young girl, whatever I did, I pushed myself to learn it, to understand it. I didn't just skim the surface. I went deep. I connected. I asked around, like, I think I probably, without calling it best practices, I was searching for them. And it was just in me to really want to be my best, not the best. I was always very supportive and wanted to always bring people along with me. But I just always had this vision of, if I'm going to play T-ball, I want to play great T-ball. And if the ball goes past me, I'm going to figure out how the second time I can get in front of the ball. If I was hitting the tennis ball, playing ping pong, I also had a older brother who I loved to hang out with, and a lot of male cousins, which made me even more of a tomboy. And so I would liked hanging with the guys and playing the sports. And it just, I don't know, you have to be better and you have to develop some thick skin doing that.
I'm envious. I always wanted a brother.
I have a
So,
great one. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
maybe I'll borrow somebody's brother now. Did you have a mentor as you were growing up? Somebody that helped you learn some of the core basics that you use today?
I would say, again, I won the lottery with my parents. We had a lot of interesting conversations around the table.
Mhm.
I learned really early on family is most important.
Yeah.
A lot from my dad, my mom too, but he really, really solidified that. Also about integrity, doing the right thing no matter what. And so sometimes I would be, probably still am, too honest. But it was just, again, living with a lot of values, and really there was a very high standard to live up to the values of integrity and family and even excellence and learning and growing. And some of the things that we bring into the company today, or I've raised our own children with, so I would say the lessons I've learned at home have really lasted throughout my lifetime very strongly.
Speaking of children, I know you're a career woman and you raise children. So, how did you do that? Because that's a struggle for many women that are professional women.
Yeah, it's hard. And I think, you set up good systems, you have good people around you, and when you need help, you can't be afraid to ask. And I think it boils down to, again, a lesson that my dad taught us early on is you have to know what your priorities are. And if you know what your priority is and your family needs you, then you figure it out. And I'm going through that right now because I have my parents who are elderly and I have my kids and we have the business. And I just know where my top priority is.
Mm.
And the other stuff works out. I always say we're not doing brain surgery here. And I'm surrounded by great people, amazing people who are caring and loving and can take over anything if I need them to at work. And so I think it's creating that ecosystem around you. And I'm very fortunate. I work hard at that too.
Yeah.
And I'm very fortunate to have that.
Yeah. I've heard you talk about your parents, and And you're in that sandwich generation where you're trying to figure out, how to do both. Be there
Yeah.
for your girls are grown. Yeah.
Yes.
How many children do you have?
Three daughters, 27, 24, and 21.
Yeah. So your husband was the only guy in the house?
Yes. Now we have Bentley, our big golden doodle, who is a crazy dude.
Good, good. Before Bassman Blaine, you had a successful corporate career. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so fresh out of college, my first job was really great. With my dad being in IBM, we always knew that computer sales was great training and can set me up for a lifetime of opportunity. And so I got a job. My first job was in Century City with NCR Corporation. And I went out to Pico Rivera and I knocked on wholesalers and manufacturers and sold them super mini computers. And I really built some great relationships. We had to wear suits at that time in the middle of these manufacturing plants. And I really did quite well, given that here I was, this young girl fresh out of college, but the training was priceless. And then from there, I worked for Eli Lilly and Company for over a decade. And that was again more training. I absolutely loved it. When I was selling computers at that time, I was thinking about what I was doing, and I'd always look at my brother who worked also for Eli Lilly, and I thought he always loves his job. And so I started asking him about it, and he lived in Indianapolis. He was at corporate. And so I started looking to see if they had any openings in California, and they did. And I met incredible people, called on doctors, and then I moved into large accounts with managed care and grew a ton there as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've met Ken. You both are really good at sales. What is the conversation around the dinner table like?
Well, very interesting. They're quite creative. They're always about innovation. We always we're always talking about the opportunity for driving revenue, but how to make every part of what we do better,
Mhm.
seamless, more impactful, more fun even. Our new thing as we get older now is how do we do more with less? Meaning, how do we take one of our vendors and help them drive revenue, build different relationships, and how do we deepen and widen relationships? And I would say, and at times they might get a little heated because two people pitching their ideas to each other. But after all these years, we have a lot of respect for each other, and we definitely have different talents
Mhm.
and know that I don't want to do what he's doing, and he really allows my process to unfold too with very little intervention, I would say, which is
And
nice.
I like how you mentioned doing more with less. And this last month, we talked about apps and bringing apps into WPO. Interesting. What was it that you talked about that you're using?
Canva. I love Canva. I think it's so helpful. Of course, chat is incredible. Like I still like to write
Mhm.
out if I'm writing the newsletter or I'm writing something, but I like for chat to polish it in seconds. And then I, of course, have to approve it. But I've been using Canva for years. I use it for certificates, for our values, our anniversaries, for our team members. I use it for presentations. I use it for agendas, just so many things. I love it. And it feels good. It feels good because you really truly feel like a graphic designer. You can make something look so beautiful.
Yeah. So Terry took my agenda for the meeting and made it look so much better and so much more professional. Really, it made a huge difference. So thank you. In business, you've made a positive impact on your company. What was one or two things that you've implemented that you think has has made the biggest impression?
I would say the two biggest things is really clarity and then accountability. And I'm
Mm.
going to say clarity because really, who are we? What are we trying to accomplish? Who's our ideal customer or client? Clarity on our team. What is their job description? But even bigger than that, what does the business require? And then drilling it down to what are the activities that need to happen to drive the business forward and to drive the culture forward. And then you can have all the clarity you want, but if you don't hold people to account or to that high standard, there's a lot of suffering that takes place. And because we're so entrepreneurial and continued growing and adding things on and innovating, there wasn't anyone back in the day putting together the systems as we grew. So I came in right away and saw that was one of the first things is we first need an org chart. And,
So
I drove everyone crazy with my org charts, but it really gave us clarity, even clarity on what our values are. We had values, we lived by values, but we didn't have them written down. I remember when I first met you all those years ago, Marla, you said, put the values everywhere. And we do. We have big, beautiful art pieces with our values. We celebrate. They spell out tiger. We celebrate a tiger of the quarter, of the year. It's really front and center. And, you know,
yes, you made the name so that everybody can remember what your values are. So what are your values? Because I think this is brilliant. I love using tiger and people then can easily remember, oh yeah, it's this.
yeah, so it's teamwork. And it took us a long time to really narrow down what they were. And actually, we had one key one missing that became very clear after a moment in time that we needed to add. But it's teamwork, integrity, growth. Of all things, growth was the one that we added on after, which made Tiger easy. Excellence and respect. And then the growth really happened because we realized that both Ken and I were never satisfied. Again, it was like that little girl in me is still so present that whatever I'm doing, I want to take it to the next level. And that's part of it. And we realized we had maybe 12 leaders around the table at a meeting. And I was sitting there thinking, I don't know if there's many of them that are growth oriented. So it's a little painful when we're kind of always looking for the next opportunity to grow, but your team is not aligned
Yeah.
that way. So but it's helpful to,
So they know.
they
They
know. And
they
it's a
get
different, again, over time, if you're not growth oriented, this is not really a great place for you because we can't change who we are. We don't want to change who we are.
Yeah, that's a good point. And one thing that you said I think is really important that I use, which is frequently pleased, never satisfied. It's like, why would I be satisfied? I want to keep pushing. And I know I've listened to you enough. I know you're a pusher. You want to get to that next level, which is hard to do, like you said, unless you've got people around you that have similar values. And the one thing, because you set the values out, it makes it really clear to everybody what's important to you. If it's not important to them,
It's
they,
that clarity. It's that clarity part. In every part, you have to put yourself in the person sitting across from you, not just in your head. You have to see, will someone understand what we're talking about? So
yeah, and I know Jack Walsh in his book Winning said if your values don't align with your company, then you should leave. And this really helps you hire because then it's really clear these people have to have the tiger values.
so much, so much. And now we've spent so much time and we're at such an incredible place where everyone is speaking the same language, rowing in the same direction, is aligned with our values that we are so protective of it.
Good.
We
Yeah.
in fact, it's not only Ken and me, it's the whole team.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's nice to
Proud of it then.
yeah,
It is like that. That's a
yeah.
badge of honor. Yeah. Our company. has these values. So good.
It is, and it wasn't easy. It was a lot of twists and turns. So, getting to this point, we're thoroughly enjoying it.
That's good. Is there anything that you wish you'd done sooner?
Well, I love that you mentioned hiring. So, I highly recommend that if someone does not have a hiring process or certain tools to help them, that they find them and have a system, because bringing in the wrong person, again, it takes you back. You might be working so hard to move your business forward and your culture forward, and one person who isn't aligned in many ways, every way, sets you back. And it's a lot of work to go forward, set back, move forward. And then it's very difficult in California to then say, you know what, this is not a great fit. And so we use Acumax, and now we're in the process of hiring 3 new inside salespeople. And the first step was, okay, seeing we like their resume, we like their experience, sending them the Acumax index, which sees if they're aligned with the position. We just brought in 2 candidates yesterday who met with Ken and someone else on our team. They were blown away by the fit and how aligned these people were with our mission and where we're going. It just saves you so much time. And not to say that we won't make more mistakes. However, it really reduces the risk of making a mistake.
Yes.
And it's been fascinating and fun. So I would say I wish we had a better hiring process throughout.
Like many business owners. It's like that's one of the challenges is hiring the right people. I think you've done a good job with your culture and making it really clear what's important. That really helps hiring just from the get-go. It helps. Do you have any disciplines that you want to share with others regarding good business management? What do you think has really been beneficial for your company?
I think, again, I'll go back to the clarity and accountability, but I want to highlight accountability. We had a sales team before that there was no accountability. It was very frustrating. Everybody was suffering on all sides. And so we, a year ago, actually set some new standards. And because we set some new standards, we had quite a few people exit. And it was a good exit for them and certainly for us too. It was time. And so we started with a newer team. We still had some of the salespeople from before, but we set a new system, a new sales process and KPIs. And we, for the whole last year, have stuck to it. And it gives me goosebumps because I see this team continue to rise up. And now they're doing their own creating, their own innovating. How do we sell more for vendor A or B without us having to intervene? And that was kind of the goal, to help create a system, a team where they keep each other accountable. But the only way they can do that is if there's something to look up to see what is that standard. So it's accountability, but it's also consistency.
Yeah.
You can't just say it once and then it's done. And it's, again, it's not easy, but it's a must.
I know the answer to this next question in part because you developed some of these processes from one of the business books. I know you're going to say you like. What is your favorite business book or books?
I'm going to say books because I know the one you're thinking of. And I'm going to say that one second because I used this other book first, and it was The Advantage by Patrick Lencioni. I recommend that book to everyone. It was recommended to me, and it just helps you chart out all of those important components of your business where you must have clarity on. If you're working with a team, even more than one person yourself, and you don't have that clarity, it can go sideways. It gets complicated. The Advantage helps you create those foundations that are strong. And then the second one that I absolutely love is Traction. It just takes the Advantage to the next level. Like, those two together will make you unstoppable in your business.
Those books are applicable to small and large businesses.
No question. I would
Wow.
recommend that to any size business, whether you own it or not.
Yeah.
It's all about people. It's
Yeah.
all about the clarity. If you have to have a clear GPS to get from point A to point B. And these are two of the best tools that I have found. Yeah.
Sometimes letting somebody go is actually doing them a favor. I was explaining in a training to a group of managers today the fact that I had a guy who is doing accounts receivable and he was making a lot of mistakes. And we kept coaching him, but let him stay in this position. But we kept writing him up and he kept making mistakes. Finally, we had to say, this isn't working. And we let him go. This guy opened his own bakery and had incredible success. So we could have let him stay in the same position and he probably would have. He's one of those people that didn't like change. And that would have been such a horrible thing for that man's life.
I learned that. I learned that you're actually doing someone a favor. There's something better for them out there.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. If I asked your employees how they saw you as a boss, what would they say?
I would say they would say I'm clear, I'm fair, I'm nurturing,
Mhm.
I'm patient, I have high standards. I would hope they would say I'm fun, like to have a good time too.
I think you
And oh, Marla, that's all that matters.
exactly.
Um, and I think they would say I'm passionate and I really care. I really care about the business. I care about them and I just pour whatever it takes into them.
Good. Now, I know that you travel to some great places. Have you always done that? And tell me a little bit about your most recent experience. That isn't a question on this list of questions,
It's not,
but
it's
I must have
okay.
a good answer.
I'd say one of the most interesting trips that we have taken is we went to a monastery in Sweden. And we had learned about this organization called Oneness, and they are from India. And it's a deep inner journey where you find peace and calm and quiet. And I've really haven't taken an inner journey like that before. And they were gifted this monastery. They've owned it for about 2 years. And we went there and you stay on the property and you meditate and you do yoga. It's close to Copenhagen, just across the bridge from Copenhagen. So it's kind of out in the forest and the big field. It's just beautiful. You're just really not only taking the journey to Sweden, and we went to Copenhagen for a few days before, but you're taking a journey to expansion, to peace, to calm, to connection and presence.
Mhm.
That sign me up. I love it.
I think the important thing that I think you bring to the table is balance because you have the business, but you put everything into the a good perspective, family first, including traveling with your family and you do other things. I know you love cooking and pickleball. Which one of these is your favorite?
I think my favorite is probably pickleball. I think about it all the time. And I do have a lot of interests. I love to read. I love to cook. I mean, my favorite is being with family. I do love traveling with family. We're going to go to New York in a couple weeks and go to shows, and all five of us, which is nice when you have grown children. But when I'm on the pickleball court, all I'm thinking about is that little yellow ball and where it's going. And again, as I mentioned, I think it's the same theme. At first, my husband pushed me to do ladders, which means you have a partner. If you win, you move up. If you lose, you go down. And I always felt like I didn't want to let my partner down. So it forced me to get better. And then we started playing with people who are real bangers and better than me. And I had the mindset, okay, this is great. I'm just going to get better, even though I had some butterflies in my stomach. So I do it anyway, even if I'm a little nervous. But I feel like there's a lot of growth that happens on the pickleball court. There's a ton of connection. It's social. I really like social activities where you're kind of sweating a little bit and working out. And it's funny because all of us, pickleball is about making mistakes, but then being present right after. And some people get all upset. And I just always remember, no, just watch that little yellow ball and see what happens. I've seen my game improve, and it's just fun. I love when we get out there, especially all women, and we have great games and we play hard and we laugh, and it just is like a great dose of the right kind of medicine.
And there's a lot about sports that can be related to business. I think playing with a team and having a strategy, and or playing with another person and having a strategy and focus on that little ball. Business, you have to focus on the most important things. I think that you can learn a heck of a lot about running a business from sports. Definitely. What would you say was the hardest experience in running the business?
Oh gosh. I would say in 2007, when everything crashed, we were on the wrong side of that ledger and we almost lost everything. Everything. We we actually nobody in our company missed a paycheck, but we missed ours for about 9 months. And it was so stressful. And that's what I've learned from Ken is actually in some of the toughest times is when he expands. And that's really out of all of that hardship. What was happening here, there was a lot of Canadian oil money going into Maui. And that's how our luxury design firm kicked off. We did a interior design favor for a friend of ours who bought a place in Ho'ole on the Wailea side of Maui. Kenny would go there quite often and started building relationships. And we launched our business there during a time, and it was really like divine intervention without getting religious because everything was crashing here. And here we have this opportunity that presents itself right in front of us. And not to say, again, it was hard work and a lot of travel and figuring things out. He's not a designer, he's just had been in the industry for 30 plus years at that point and knew how to resource so well. And so we were able to hire designers that could do the space planning and the CAD designs. I just remember he would do a reveal of the home and I'd be a nervous wreck. Like, what happened? Did they like it? And we'd hit a home run every time because we understood spaces and furniture and placement and things like that. So that was a really tough time. I would say COVID was a tough time too, running a business. We shut down for only a couple months, but we were a business that required everyone to come back and we wore masks. We took every safety precaution very seriously. We had some pregnant employees and we had to make sure everybody was safe and felt comfortable, and there were different levels of comfort. Some people did not want masks, but we had to figure all of that out. There were lawsuits happening if people didn't feel safe. That was a really difficult time. However, we were on the good side of the ledger that time and our business blew up, but we were building a team without great processes for hiring at one of our busiest times. So that was also challenging.
It blew up in a good way, but I think what's important and what I heard you say is you had some times that were struggles, but because of those times, you were able to do something that eventually became a really good thing for the business.
Very good.
But it's like you go through it, and I hear business owners that are going through something really difficult, and many times you're going to come out the other side a better business and more profitable and, with more opportunities. So it,
I completely agree. And we learn that each time we go through something difficult.
yeah, although during that difficulty, you're thinking, how can this end up being good? 'Cause I have no idea.
Have to keep putting one foot in front of the other and just you just have to see through the muck,
Yeah.
that little light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, So you're a member of Women's Presidents Organization, and you've been a member for a while. How has WPO helped with running your business?
I love WPO. First of all, it connected us, Marla, and
Did
I'm so grateful for that. I think when you're around a table of a group of women and having a facilitator like you who has, run your own business, you sold your own business, had a lot of success. First of all, you're one of the most resourceful people that I know. If anyone needs anything, you have a solution or someone for us to talk to, and it's so valuable. But I would say for me in running the business, I think early on, it helped me find a stronger voice. It validated what I was doing. Having the women around thinking, oh, that's a good idea, or that works. I'm going to bring it into my business.
Mhm.
It helps validate what you're doing, and it's a real confidence booster. And you feel connected. You don't feel alone. And at the time that I really started jumping in full force with the business, it was two men at the top, my husband and a business owner. And there's a different perspective when you bring a woman's voice in. And even though it was my husband, he had complete trust in me. We had a business partner who I had to earn my keep, so to speak,
Yeah.
and prove myself. And then the whole team who had been there for a while, is looking, well, why is she here? Kind of thing. So going into a room filled with women who are so sharp, who are going through a lot of the same things that you're going through, and getting that validation is the confidence booster that we all need. In addition to, I always leave with a pearl that I implement into our business. Always.
And speaking about that, Pearl, what do you think about the issue processing endeavor? So we do
I
that
think,
every meeting.
yes. And I think it's fantastic. And what is always interesting is an issue will come up, and there's a couple of us who, oh, yeah, we can totally relate to it. And it's a totally different business than our own. However, we see ourselves and our business in each issue processing. And it's fascinating. And not only is it helpful because we leave with something great too, it feels really good to help someone work through a very difficult situation in their business. It gives you that shot of the good stuff right to the veins of being able to help someone who is really having a hard time. And I think that's what is so powerful about that room. It's supportive, it's caring, it's honest. We really take it seriously. And I think all of our businesses improve because of what we do in that room.
Yeah, and trying to solve a problem on your own without somebody to bounce off ideas is challenging. So it gives that additional perspective. Yeah.
So
And you've attended the annual conference, which I mean that's like 900 driving, really powerful women in one place. Tell me a little bit about that experience.
well, I've gone a couple times and I always try and go because it was amazing to have that many women. The speakers in the front of the room speak differently when it's all women, whether it's a male or female speaker. And the things that are funny to most everyone in the room. Like there is an energy of connection, care, excitement. The information is really speaks to each one of us. They make sure there's activities that are fun, to help us connect as women. Um, I'll just I'll just share the first conference that I went to. There was a woman who I think she was a professor at Yale, but she had spent a lot of time being one of the top marketing executives at Mattel. And she had the best presentation because it was all about Barbies and going out into the field. Do you remember, Marla? and it was going out into the field and talking to their customers. So she went out and talked to 12-year-olds, and she started showing the pictures. Like, they came out with the bride Barbie that had her hair done beautifully, had the beautiful dress on. And she said, let's go out and see how our customers are really, what they're doing with this beautiful Barbie. And they had the Barbie hanging naked from 2 trees. The little girl had cut her hair off. And it was what we all did with our Barbies. It was hysterical. And I think if there were men in the room, like, you couldn't do a presentation like that.
They wouldn't understand.
They wouldn't understand. And it was just really connected the room in a great way. And her presentation was incredible because it really talked about knowing what your customer is doing with your product line.
Mhm.
And
I bet and they were surprised. Oh. Um, so earlier you mentioned that you're actively involved in a meditation group, and you're going to bring that forward, aren't you? You're going to maybe help facilitate some meditation.
oh, yes, I was honored to be asked to start a soul sync cluster. So probably for the last 6 weeks or so, um, I and others in my group, we have been leading a 6:30 a.m. California time, Pacific Standard Time, 24-minute meditation that is led by the group. Where I welcome and I push play, and it is magical. It helps you start the day peaceful, calm, present. It's not religious at all, but it's almost like an opportunity to share your heart's desire with the greater energy level. And it's amazing when you align with that, how well your day unfolds, no matter how busy or chaotic it can be. You can stay in it with a peace, a calm, a gratitude. And it's really simple. It's not hard.
So a
And
thinking process going in the right direction sounds like.
it's actually, you do breathing and they guide you. It's a blend of science and mysticism. So the first meditation that we do is 10 minutes, and it really calms your body, it calms your mind. It actually, in part of it, releases nitrous oxide in your sinuses, which is very calming. Like, they have all these tools in their toolbox that get you to the place scientifically and mystically, to that place of calm. It's like, to me, I feel like they're magicians, because I was not a meditator at all before. In fact, I download the apps and, I'd sit there for a second and they'd say breathe and whatever. And I'm thinking, I need to go to the grocery store and get stuff for dinner. But there's something about them. And in the first program that I did, I've gone to some events that are 5 days long. In LA, I went to one in Florida. And they started off in LA. My first day sitting there, I was, again, a little nervous about it because it was so new to me. I knew 2 people in the room, kind of. And they started by saying, we've studied the physical body in medicine for about 350 years. We in India have been studying the inner journey for 12,000. And I thought, you got me. I'm in.
Yeah,
You have my attention.
nice. Well, I look forward to doing that in the morning at 6:30 because I'm an early bird. So that is sounds like a
Marla, I'm sending you the link. You will be blown away by the simplicity, but how you feel during and after. It's
nice.
spectacular.
Good. I look forward to it. I look
Good,
forward to it.
good.
Uh, so I know Bassman Blaine has some big things to look forward to. So what's the next 5 years look like?
Well, the next 5 years is really, again, doing what we're doing, getting more clarity, doing more with less. We've really scaled back on our vendor line package. We are getting very clear on our luxury design firm, where to go for our ideal client. We're building unbelievable relationships in that arena, and where it's just a win-win for whoever we partner with, which is really how we do business anyway. And we have a lot of really exciting things happening for our design firm and our sales agency. And I will share more as it unfolds. But the next 5 years looks really exciting for us
Good.
and our team for sure.
So I'll have to have you back on this podcast in about 3 years about all the things that have happened that are amazing and great. Because I know you are part of what you do is management of product lines, right? That you can help them improve their sales because you have them in your product line mix.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We represent the different vendors in our 4-state territory, and then we set up a sales force nationwide for them. And we
Good.
just look at each situation, what works best for each vendor. And also, some of the vendors, we just operate in our 4 states because they have coverage all over, and it works out great that way too. I mean, we're so fortunate with who we represent on that side. We work with, gosh, an amazing mattress company that we're so proud of and helping them grow in the design community, the trade arena.
And I have some really nice family room furniture thanks to your company.
Yes,
So comfortable.
I love it. Makes me so happy, Marla.
Okay, what question have I not asked you?
Oh gosh, Marla, I think you covered everything. Let's see. Marla, I want you to answer this question for me.
Turning
What
the tables.
what am I gonna have for dinner tonight? I have no idea.
You know what? My favorite thing to do, Terry, is
What?
to go to a really nice restaurant and order. We are big on appetizers.
Oh,
Bo and I will split 2 or 3 appetizers, and that makes us happy.
I love that idea. I love it. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, and I only go to places that have good wine.
Yes, I follow you in the wherever you go with the wine, I'm gonna follow you. You are the expert.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So thank you very much, Terry. Teri Bassman from Bassman Blaine. I appreciate you being on Per Her Perspective. And I look forward to talking to you again about your business and how all the great things that you're doing.
Thank you so much, Marla. This has been such a pleasure, and I love connecting with you in any and every way.
Thank you, Terry.
You've been listening to Per Her Perspective. I'm your host, Marla Noel. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow the podcast so you don't miss what's next. To go deeper, check out my book, Drama Free Management, a practical guide to moving teams from high drama and low performance to low drama and exciting results. To connect with me, visit my website, ocgrowthadvisors.com. Until next time, keep leading with purpose and perspective.